Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 170 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined as always by the infamous Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joey. Yourself?
Very good, my friend. Very good. It's great to have you back on the show. Of course, you wasn't here last week. I had to do it on my own. It's been a while since I've had to do that. But me, myself, I'm known now as Mr. Consistency. I haven't missed a show since November 2016. We've been banging them out, or I've been banging them out at least every week since then. And, of course, before that, we're going to start with the review part of the show. I'm going to try to go through this show as quick as possible. I am battling a little bit of a cold, and it's been a busy couple of days. We saw on Monday the press conference between Craig Richards and Jake Paul, the reschedule of their fight and the whole card itself. And then on the Tuesday, Amir Khan and Terence Crawford. So it's been busy this week in boxing. Let's start, like I say, with the review part of the show. We're going to start at the Stageworks Arena in Louisiana, USA. This one was a Devin Haney Promotions card. Of course, he topped the bill himself, 20-0 going in there against Zolisani Undongani, 25-0, the South African fighter. It was for the vacant WBC International Lightweight title. Now, Devin Haney, I mean, he did what he had to do. He started to hurt the guy towards the end of the fight. I think he dropped him also early on. I think it was maybe the second or third round. It was an impressive performance from Devin Haney. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. I mean, he's passing all these tests. He's still such a young kid, and realistically, he could give real problems to the champions. Someone like, I know this fight's never going to happen, but imagine him in there with someone like Anthony Crolla. I think he'd be ready for that kind of step up there, Devin Haney. But a great fighter he is, and another win for him. He takes this guy's O, and he's still 21-0, or he's now 21-0, still with the undefeated record intact. That was it for Friday night. Moving out now to Saturday night. This one was on the 12th of Jan in the Estadio Polideportivo in Mar del Plata, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Usually I'd try and tackle that with my fake Spanish accent, but seemed a little bit long, that venue there, so I didn't fancy doing that one. But there is big news here. We saw Fabian Maidana, the brother of Marcos Maidana, a man that's rumoured to have this comeback. We're not quite sure whether it's going to happen or not, but anyway, he may want to rethink things because he had a little bit of a wake-up call here, just how difficult boxing can be. Fabian Maidana lost his undefeated streak here. He was 16-0, but he lost against Haider Para, who now has a record of 33-2 with one draw. His two losses, by the way, were both by knockout, both to world champions. So it was a big step up for Maidana, and I did say that last week, but he didn't come through the test. Like I say, unanimously over 10 rounds there, and Maidana loses his O, and I'm guessing his world rankings with that as well. And now moving on to Sunday the 13th. One fight to mention, Ayaz, at the Morrison's pub in Budapest, Hungary. And you're going to think I'm joking, but believe it or not, Prince Patel is now a world champion. Hold on to your hats. It's not an IBF, a WBO, a WBA, or a WBC strap. It's the WBF. He's the WBF World Bantamweight Champion. The belt was vacant, and he's also the champion of the Universal Boxing Organization World Bantamweight belt as well. So yeah, that's two belts for him. He's the UBO World Champion and the WBF World Champion. Both belts were vacant. He went into the bout with a record of 17-0 with one draw. He took on Ronald Ramos, who's now 42 years of age. His record, 41 wins, 17 losses and 4 draws. It was a big step up really for Prince Patel when you look at the people that he's been in with. I mean, let's be fair, it was a big step up for him compared to the other guys. This guy's got 41 damn wins. Well, anyway, Prince Patel knocked him out in the 4th round, and there's more. This gets even weirder. Prince Patel becomes the second quickest man to ever stop this guy. Like I said, he's been on the losing end of a fight 17 15 times, but he's been stopped a handful of times, but Prince Patel did it the second quickest in the 4th round. I think someone got him out in the 3rd round. But this guy is a former world title challenger, and even in that world title challenge, he didn't get stopped as quick as Prince Patel did it. So that kind of says something. Also, I will mention that on this entire fight card with Prince Patel here, there was 28 fights on the bill, and every single fight ended with a stoppage. Every single fight ended in a stoppage. There were 28 fights, 27 knockouts, and one where it ended up being a no contest because both boxers got disqualified, okay? So no fight out of all the 28, no fight went the distance. Absolutely bizarre. We love it down at the Morrison's pub in Budapest. I do recommend that one for any people that like to do a bit of a pub crawl. Going out now, though, to the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, California, USA. This one was shown on ITV4, actually. The first card that Al Heyman's put on UK television since this deal has been announced. We saw Guillermo Rigondeaux return to the ring for the first time since his loss to Lomachenko. He picked up win number 18. He's got one loss, of course, which we mentioned there. He took on Giovanni Delgado, 16-8, now 16-9. It ended up being a knockout in the very first round for Rigondeaux. It came at about 2 minutes 59 or something. It was almost as the bell went. It was just before the bell went, so he got a knockout in the few remaining seconds of that first round. Rigondeaux didn't really get to see too much from him, unfortunately, so it's hard to see what he's got left or whatever. I think he's still got a lot to offer, so I do want to see him a bit more active. We also saw Brandon Figueroa, 17-0. He took on Moises Flores, who, like I said on last week's show, Moises Flores is the guy that fought Rigondeaux, and then, he got hit on the bell or just slightly after the bell, and he laid down and he stayed down, and it ended up being a no contest. Well, anyway, his one other loss came to Daniel Roman on points. So, you got to say this guy's a pretty decent fighter. He's been in there with Rigondeaux, he's been in there with Danny Roman, and he took on Brandon Figueroa, a man that's still learning on the job, so to speak, the younger brother of Omar Figueroa, an undefeated world champion in his own right. And Brandon's only 22 years of age. He's 17-0 going into this fight here, and he's got such an aggressive style. I mean, he really, really went for Moises Flores as soon as the first bell rang, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He's very aggressive, very, very fan-friendly, and he got him out of there in 3 rounds, so that is a huge statement. He's done it a lot better than Danny Roman did, so that's a bit of a statement there for Figueroa. I want to see him pushed on, but not too quickly, because like I say, he's still a baby. And yeah, that's about it for the undercard there. But moving up to the main event here, Jose Uzcategui, 28-2, took on Caleb Plant, 17-0. It was for Uzcategui's IBF World Super Middleweight title. It was to be his first defense of the belt. Finally, I think he had a non-title bout in the meantime, but this one was his first defense, and it was an unsuccessful defense. He saw himself on the deck in round 2 and round 4, and he ended up losing a unanimous decision over 12 rounds. Now, the fight itself, in the very first round, it was a confident start from Caleb Plant. I think that was also a round where Uzcategui missed badly at the end of the round, and Caleb Plant did like a Billy Joe Saunders-esque kind of glance at the miss, and Uzcategui was constantly on the front foot in that first round, but the better work certainly came from Caleb Plant. I gave him that round. The second round, like I say, Caleb Plant got the knockdown. It was a good round for him as well. He was starting to push Uzcategui back, and then in the third round, it was a closer round. I actually gave that one to Uzcategui, despite the commentary team giving all 3 of those first 3 rounds to Plant. In the fourth round, I mean, it was early on in the round where Caleb actually got cut himself, and he seemed to be in some real trouble. And then as the pair were trading shots, which in my opinion wasn't smart for Plant, the pair exchanged left hooks, and Plant put Uzcategui down once again. So that was the second knockdown, like I say. And I was shocked at that point by the performance thus far of Plant. In the 5th round, I gave that one to Plant also. Uzcategui was just chasing Plant around the ring. Plant really did have to work hard to win the round, but I thought he did enough. In the 6th round, round, it was a quick start by Uzcategui. I often worried for Plant when the pair would exchange, but I will admit to being a little bit guilty of believing in Uzcategui's power before the fight, and I guess not really believing in Plant's power. Hence the two knockdowns taking me by surprise a little bit. It was a close round in that 6th round, and Plant seemed to be getting a little bit tired already in that 6th round. But if I had to edge it to anyone, I again gave that round to Uzcategui. In the 7th round, it was another close round. It could have gone either way, but I actually edged it to Plant. In the 8th round, it was a bit of a messy round at times, but definitely Plant won that round. The 9th round, a very interesting round. Good inside work by Plant, and he was winning the round, but he took a big shot himself that seemed to wobble him, and his body language was awful despite dancing around and trying to prove that he was fine. I actually felt Plant won the round, but funny enough, the commentators gave that round to Uzcategui, and that was the first round that they gave him in the whole fight, this 9th round. So I felt that their scoring was really bad. They were being quite lenient towards Plant. In the 10th round, it was a very bad round actually for Caleb Plant. He took a big right hand, but he did take it well, to his credit. Uzcategui looked very fresh as well still in that 10th round. I mean, he had no sweat on him. Plant did finish the round pretty well. In the 11th round, it was another close round. Lots of pitter-patter shots. Both men were leaning on each other and just tapping each other, really. But Plant's elusiveness was pretty good, and his little shots were eye-catching and more frequent than Uzcategui's. So I gave him that round also. And then the 12th and final round, I mean, it was a poor round, really. The crowd were booing. Plant just tried to hold and run. He didn't really do anything. I don't think he threw more than 3 shots the whole round. And it was very easy to score that round. It was obviously a Uzcategui round. He was chasing him, trying to force the fight. So after everything, I believe I had it to Plant by 5 rounds in the end, so a lot closer than the commentary team had it. But that was really it from last week. Like I said, it wasn't too much to go over. Just before we wrap up part 1 though, there is one last thing to do. You know what it is if you've been listening for more than 2 weeks where we've only had one guest on. It is time to welcome our very first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBF Featherweight World Champion. It is of course Mr. Lee Selby. Lee, first things first, Happy New Year to you. How are things?
Thank you very much. Things are good with me. I'm just out in Los Angeles, preparing for my next fight. Out here sparring, traveling around the gyms, and all's good.
Okay, so you're traveling around the gyms. Can you say any names that you're sparring with?
Well, out here in the gyms, they're always top class fighters. Even if they're not big names, they're good fighters. Teak tough, and they keep coming and give you good work. We got in. We had a bit of trouble with the flights. The flight got delayed, and then they rebooked us on another flight, which stopped in Chicago, and customs kept us back, and we missed the next flight then to Los Angeles. So it's been a bit of a nightmare start. But we're here now. We sparred at the Maywood Boxing Gym yesterday. We just did a couple of rounds, shake off the jet lag and whatnot. And now this morning we'll travel to the Wildcard Freddie Roach's gym and get some work in there.
Excellent. So we haven't actually spoke since November 2017, which is mad, really.
Long time.
Yeah, long time. Obviously, a win back then. I think it was just before the Ramirez win, and then obviously came the Warrington fight. Now, yeah. Lee, I wanted you to win that fight so badly. I abandoned I must sit on the, yeah, I mean, I abandoned my position as most media people like to sit on the fence. I didn't do that. I completely wanted you to win. And I was expecting you to win, like many people were. It didn't go to plan. In a nutshell, Lee, what seemed to go wrong for you? And did you underestimate Josh like many people did?
No, I didn't underestimate him. But I just blame myself, really. You know, I didn't perform. Looking back, since I won the title, most of my defenses have been like lackluster performances for myself. I won, comfortable. But the snap and there was a lot missing, and it was the same. It was the decrease in my performances were only like gradual. That's why not too many people noticed, but I felt it in myself, and then just like getting to that fight, it was just another drop down. Like too many trips to the well. Keep going there. There's nothing there in the end, and that's what happened. I believe.
Well, that's very honest of you to say. I remember the Barros win. I think you looked brilliant that night, by the way, especially with what happened a couple of days before that.
Yeah, I looked good, but still there was times where like I should have stepped on the gas and should have stopped him. But instead of that snap just haven't been there in the last few fights. You know, we're staying in training, staying in sparring. If I heard someone in sparring, I tried to finish them. But like in the fights, I'm not like punching with like bad intentions like I used to when I was more comfortable with it. I'm just like sort of hitting them just with enough like authority to keep them off and just outboxing them, out moving them, outsmarting them. Whereas before I'd be hitting them trying to hurt them, and that's been missing for the last few fights.
And of course, Warrington's gone on to beat Frampton, another fight which he was expected to lose by most people. Do you rate Josh now, Lee, as one of perhaps the best we've got in Britain? He had a fantastic 2018.
Well, you can't not really by his achievements, but like he did. It sounds like I'm being what's the word? I don't know the word in it, but I just believe he beat like the worst Lee Selby, and like the worst Lee Selby and the best Josh Warrington made for like a fight of the year contender. Okay. So like I was nowhere near my best, and Frampton, I expected that fight to go that way anyway, just the styles, and I think he's just slightly past there. Frampton, past his best. He's had a few hard fights, and they do take a lot out of you.
And you yourself have decided to move up 2 weight classes here, Lee. An extra 9 pounds you'll be able to pack on, or perhaps I should say not lose. That's probably the best way of wording it.
It's not lose. It's definitely not pack on. It'll still be a task to make the lightweight limit.
And how come you've decided to move up 2 and not just 1? Was there ever like a chance or a plan perhaps to just have 1 fight at super feather to see how you felt?
Not really. I've had a non-title fight when I was champion at about 9 some free, and it didn't really make a difference.
Was that in Chicago? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's fighting like Oscar Valdez next.
Crazy.
But in the gym, the power, the speed, and the fitness is always there. But I'm just dropping down to that weight. As soon as I get under that 10 stone mark, it just takes everything out of me. And like fight week, I start the week heavier than like the lightweight limit. So you can imagine the weight I'm losing just that last week.
Yeah. And do you yourself feel like you're punching harder up at this weight, Lee?
I've always been the same in the gym. Obviously, I'm a lot heavier and I punch hard. I punch with a lot more authority than I do a featherweight, and the fitness is like second, and I'm always fit. It's just then making that weight, getting down to the fights. That's where I lose it. It's not like I've gained strength now. The strength has always been there. I've just lost it making that way to the fights.
I see. Okay. So you'll be taking on Omar Douglas on the DeGale versus Eubank Jr. undercard on February 23rd. What do you know about Omar, Lee?
I've watched a little bit of him. He looks like he can punch. He looks well schooled, good boxer. He's very tough, and he's only lost to two good fighters in Edna Cherry and
Javier Fortuna.
Javier Fortuna, I think, was a world champion, and Edna Cherry claims he was like an uncrowned world champion. He had some close fights with champions, so like they're not true like losses to be ashamed of, and they were pretty close fights. So it'll be a proper fight, and that's what I wanted.
And what should fans expect to see from you come February 23rd? Obviously, a new version of Lee Selby, a stronger and, of course, less dehydrated version. Maybe
not so much as a new Lee Selby. Maybe if you look back like the old Lee Selby, where I had a run of, I know it was like domestic level titles, British, Commonwealth, European. I had a run of stoppages, knockouts, and maybe we'll see that Lee Selby, the old Lee Selby, rather than the one of late, maybe like a few years back to like 2000, from 2011, 2012, 13.
But Lee, what would you say? Because you've been pretty honest saying that you seemed like you were kind of declining towards the end, trying to make that weight, trying to make 126 repeatedly. What would you say was your best performance? Because I even felt that the Gradovich performance was brilliant from you.
Yeah, that was, I'd say that was my last hurrah at a featherweight. That was. Okay. Yeah.
And Lee, who are you
looking back? Because I should have moved up after then, really. But after working so hard to like gain a world title, it's a difficult decision to make to vacate one. Especially when there was always like big fights looming at featherweight, big money fights, the Frampton fight and all this. So that was enough for me to sacrifice making the weight.
And Lee, obviously, the last time we saw you, you kind of did some sort of fight-by-fight deal with Frank Warren, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Promotionally, who are you with now?
I'm just with Al Heyman. He's just done this the big deal with ITV.
Yeah. And
the Sani guys have managed me from day one. They're going to continue to manage me to the end of my career. So I could see the rest of my career out with ITV on Boxing Sports.
Okay, excellent. And I always like to ask you how your brother Andrew's getting on. We spoke to him not too long ago. I believe at the time he was hoping to be fighting in December. Of course, that didn't end up happening. How is he?
He is due to fight in a final eliminator for the WBC flyweight title. And of course, Charlie Edwards just won the title. Yeah. But Andrew, he beat the previous champion who Edwards took the title off, and he beat Edwards as an amateur. So it'd make for a great fight. And I'm sure the WBC, either the WBC or the opponent was supposed to give a date, either yesterday or today. I'm not sure with the time difference, but the date should be any time now, and I believe it'll be in Mexico.
Okay. Well, good stuff there for Andrew. Lee, what really is your plan through 2019? I mean, are you looking at all British kind of fights like Ricky Burns or Anthony Crolla now at lightweight, or are you just looking at fighting the world title holders?
Our local fans, the UK fans, they love a British domestic fight, and I to be honest, I'm game to fight anybody anywhere. I don't really plan out my career. I just keep myself fit and do my job as a fighter, and I'll fight anybody who's put in front of me. No
one on the hit list right now?
I don't know what my managers have got in plan, but I like I said, I just keeps myself in shape, and I'm just ready and willing to fight anyone. That's a good thing about me. I will fight anybody in a boxing match. Like I wouldn't back out of any fight at all. And I believe most fighters are like that, especially us Welsh fighters.
Yeah, you. I was going to say your brother 100%. I mean, I know that for sure. Coming down really to the last question. Lee, if Josh Warrington should take on the likes of Kid Galahad or the likes of Oscar Valdez, we're hearing, how do you see him faring in both of those fights there?
You got a funny little style, like both you named above, and Frampton and I, we're all like much better score, better class fighters, but like with his little style, like rushing in and throwing the fast punches, it's effective. And I've sparred with Galahad, I've sparred with Valdez. Valdez punches very hard, and of course he's like a better class fighter than Warrington. But you never know with that style, he could rush him, and Warrington got a good chin. And Kid Galahad, I've sparred with him. He's a class fighter as well. He's good at dictating the pace. He got great timing, so it's difficult to tell. And leading up to the fight, you don't know what's going on in the training camps, and just even on the day, you wake up. Like some days in the gym, I'm untouchable sparring, and I'll go to the gym another day, and I get caught all the time. So it really depends on the night.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see Warrington either take on the likes of Quigg or Valdez. I think both fights there would be very, very pleasing on the eye.
Yeah.
And Lee, just before we let you go, anything that you want to say at all to our listeners, literally just before we let you go? Just
keep following me, and I'm going to try my best to bring another world title belt back to the UK. And just thanks for the support. It's been great.
And Lee, your Twitter handle's still Lee Selby 126.
126.
Are you going to change that?
I'm scared if I change, I'll lose my old blue tick. So
you will.
I just keep it as the 126.
So people don't try and search for Lee Selby 135 because you won't find him there. But listen,
126.
126. But listen, Lee, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. You know that.
Thank
best
you
of
very
luck.
much. Nice
best of luck for the 23rd of Feb, and we'll catch up sometime after.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. Ayaz, do your magic.
Right. So the news is that Charles Frankham has signed with Matchroom Boxing.
Yeah, he was there on Monday at the press conference to announce that he'd signed with Eddie Hearn. He's making his debut on that February 2nd card, which is shaping up to be a real interesting bill, to be honest. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Lawrence Okoli still without an opponent, but he'll be on that bill as well. And like I say, we finally get to see Craig Richards and Jake Paul. But a great signing, Charles Frampton, a very good amateur. He's been, hanging around at all the gyms. He's gone everywhere for sparring, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens in his pro career. So a very exciting journey, I'm sure that will be.
And that's it for the news.
Thank you very much, Ayaz. Right, getting on to the preview part of the show now. We're going to start at the MSG, Madison Square Garden Theater, though, in New York, USA. Let's start here with the undercard. Friend of the show, Chris Algieri, 22-3. He's in a 10-round contest against Daniel Gonzalez, who's 17-1 with one draw. Not to be confused by Daniel Gonzalez, the serial killer. But yeah, Daniel Gonzalez, his one loss came to Danny O'Connor. It was a third round TKO. He lost to him at the back end of 2017. Since then, he's put together 3 wins, and like I say, he takes on Chris Algieri, who's been extremely inactive, but it's the return of Chris Algieri. He looked good in his return bout, and I'm sure he'll look good again here. He looks in fantastic shape, by the way, and like I say, it was a great interview that we had with him on the Christmas special. Moving up the bill, we've got Amanda Serrano, 35-1 with one draw. She fights for the vacant WBO World Female Super Flyweight title. I believe if she wins this, I think she becomes a 5 or 6 weight world champion. So, that is quite groundbreaking. There's not many men that's managed to do that. So this is mega for boxing, not just women's boxing. This is unbelievable. What an athlete she is, Amanda Serrano, by the way. Never had a boyfriend in her whole life, never gone partying, never done any alcohol, never done any drugs, and doesn't even own a phone, has never even owned a phone. She lives the life. She takes on, by the way, Eva Voraberger, who has a record of 24-5. That's 10 2-minute rounds there. We also have Big Baby Miller. It's still unclear if he's going to be fighting on the bill or not. I mean, it says he is, but who really knows? We're hearing lots and lots of rumours about Joshua and him getting it on. Anyway, his record 23-0 with one draw. It's a 12-round contest should it go ahead. Also on the bill, Matchroom's new signing TJ Doheny. His record 20-0. He puts his IBF World Super Bantamweight title on the line. Again, this is his first defence, and he takes on Ryohei Takahashi, another Japanese fighter. That's the problem with those lower weights, unfortunately. There's lots and lots of Japanese and Asian fighters there, so not many big names that you're going to see him in with. But like I say, I really do want to see him take on the likes of Gavin McDonnell. I think that'd be a fantastic fight. Also on the bill, we have Jorge Linares, 45-4. It's his 50th contest. He takes on Pablo Cesar Cano, who's 31-7 with one draw. I don't really see Cano, causing any trouble to Linares. Cano, I think's, I don't know. He's not great. He's not great. I forget he's only 29 years of age, but he's not a fantastic fighter by any means. I mean, his best years was probably 7 or 8 years ago, really, when he fought Paulie Malignaggi and Shane Mosley back to back, and he lost both fights, but then went on in the very next fight to take on Ashley Theophane and beat him on a split decision. But topping the bill, Demetrius Andrade Ayaz, 26-0, puts his WBO World Middleweight title on the line. Once again, it's his first defence as well. It's a double world title show, or 3 world titles, I should say, if you include Amanda Serrano's female world title bout, which we certainly should include. He takes on Artur Akavov as a man that Billy Joe Saunders fought and looked absolutely awful against. And again, that night, I remember a lot of people thought Akavov did enough to win there. It's not a guy that you can overlook quite clearly, because we've seen Billy Joe make that mistake. Will Andrade have any problems with him?
I believe Andrade's a good fighter, and I think Andrade's going to knock him out. I think Andrade at start is going to box him, and I think come later on he's going to stop him.
Okay, interesting prediction. We are going to the prediction league on that. So you've said a stoppage there for Andrade, and the listeners have also gone with a stoppage win for Andrade. Not many people giving Akavov a chance, to be completely honest. I mean, remember, his record's 19-2. He's not a big puncher. He's only got 8 knockouts. His 2 losses, like I say, Billy Joe Saunders, a very, very close fight, and the other loss came really early on in his career. I think it goes points. I really do. You've got to look at Andrade. You've got to say, when you look at his last 4 fights, all 4 of them have gone to the 12th round. Yeah, he did score a knockout in one of them, where he got the knockout in that final round. But aside from that, he's had 3 fights. His last 3 fights have all gone 12. So I don't really see him stopping Akavov, a man that hasn't yet been stopped. That's it really for that one there. Also, at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in New York, USA, this one's on ESPN Plus, a top-ranked show. We have Bryant Jennings, 24-2. He tops the bill against Oscar Rivas, the undefeated Colombian by way of Canada, the former Olympian. Very good amateur, by the way, Rivas, but he hasn't yet really excited many in the pro ranks. It's for the IBF International Heavyweight title and the WBO NABO Heavyweight title, a 12-round contest. Oscar Rivas actually, I believe, fought about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so it's kind of weird how he had that fight and then he has this fight, but he had them both signed at the same time. I thought he'd need a bit more time to prepare for Bryant Jennings, but perhaps not. We'll have to wait and see. It's a tough fight, that one, by the way, for Jennings. It's a bit of a low-risk kind of high risk, low reward kind of fight, that strikes me as. Also on the undercard, friend of the show, Shakur Stevenson gets his chance to move to double figure wins. Can he move to 10-0? It's a 10-round contest, by the way. His opponent yet to be announced. And now the final bill to mention at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. This one's going to be shown, by the way, on Showtime, and also, remember, ITV4 Saturday night. What a fantastic card. We've got an interim WBA World Featherweight title bout between Jack Tapora, 22-0, and Hugo Ruiz, 38-4. Moving up the card, we've got Badu Jack, friend of the show, 22-1 with 3 draws. He fights for the vacant WBC Silver Light Heavyweight title against the undefeated, again, very good amateur, Marcus Brown, 22-0. Marcus Brown's a good fighter, by the way. That's a 12-round contest there. We've gone to the prediction league on that one, Ayaz. I mean, obviously, Marcus Brown's got a few good wins now. Like I say, 22-0. He's got as many wins as Badu Jack, but of course he hasn't fought the opposition that Badu Jack has fought. And for that reason, I have to favour Badu Jack. Are we seeing a stoppage here? Or are you seeing a stoppage here? Or do you see Jack winning on points? Or do you see an upset, perhaps?
I think Badu Jack's a league above him. So, I mean, Badu Jack's, obviously, we've seen him for to better oppositions. And, I mean, to be fair, like, Badu Jack, he's a well-improved fighter. So, if I'm going to go with him, I'm going to go for a Badu Jack by knockout.
Badu Jack by knockout. Okay, I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Badu Jack on points, I think. I'm playing it safe, or trying to play it safe. But the listeners have gone with Jack by knockout. And interestingly, in second place, they've gone with Marcus Brown to win on points. So that would be interesting. We do know that Badu Jack doesn't always get lucky when it comes to the decisions. We've seen many questionable draws. Moving up the bill once again, 16-2, Roche Warren. He fights for the vacant WBC World Bantamweight title against Nordin Ubali, who's actually 14-0. That's a great fight there down at Bantamweight. Roche Warren, another guy that I feel kind of, he lost 1 or 2 fights and then kind of disappeared. We almost forgot about him. He's obviously a good close friend of Adrian Broner, the man that's in the main event fight. But you look at his resume. He lost a split decision to Payano, and then his other loss came a split decision to Zanat Zakhainov, another man that's kind of just disappeared off the face of the earth. I forgot about him. I remember Ricky Hatton was with him, wasn't he? So that's whatever happened to ZZ. But anyway, Nordin Ubali's a decent fighter. Like I say, 11 knockouts from his 14 wins. He's a former Olympian. He represented France in 2008. He actually lost to Zhu Chiming, and then again he was in the 2012 Olympics, and that time he lost out to Michael Conlan. And interestingly, he beat Roche Warren on his way to take on Michael Conlan in the quarterfinal. So that's a little stat there. He beat Roche Warren he just about beat him, and now they have the rematch in the pros. So there's some history there that makes it a little bit more flavoursome. And the top of the bill now, Manny Pacquiao, 60 wins, 7 losses, and 2 draws. draws. It is his 70th pro fight. He takes on Adrian the Problem Broner for the WBA World Welterweight title. Broner 33-3 with one draw, Ayaz. Let's be honest, Ayaz, you never really know what version of Adrian Broner's going to turn up. He seemed pretty unmotivated when he took on the likes of the likes of Jesse Vargas. For me, wasn't that impressive there. Against Mikey Garcia, to be fair, he did come on strong late on. But, he's kind of got himself to blame, if we're being completely honest. He seems like he's not really dedicating his life to the sport of boxing like many boxers need to do. He's got past many tests in his career, and he is a very good fighter. He's a quality fighter, Adrian Broner. There's no getting away from that. But he hasn't won a fight since almost 2 years come fight night. His last win was against Adrian Granados. It was a split decision over 10 rounds. Again, another weird decision that really could have gone either way that night. I remember Granados felt very hard done by. The last proper good-looking win was against Ashley Fearfane, and that was almost 3 years ago. His last two fights, a loss to Mikey Garcia and then a majority draw, like I say, with Jesse Vargas. Manny Pacquiao, as a man that, he went so long without getting a knockout, and then he finally scored it in his last fight against Lucas Matisse, who straight away after the fight retired. And he looked great in that fight, Manny Pacquiao, but we do have to remember his best days are behind him. He got Matisse at the very end of his career, and he did look good. He really did. But, yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, and for that reason, just because he looked good in his last fight and Broner didn't look so good in his last fight, I don't think you can read into it too much, because Matisse was finished and Jesse Vargas has actually turned into quite a solid fighter. How do you see this fight playing out?
If I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with a Manny Pacquiao win. Now, the problem with Adrian Broner, he's a very, very talented fighter, but he does things that he shouldn't do outside the ring, which is affecting him in the actual boxing ring. And obviously, we see Manny Pacquiao. This guy is a legend in boxing, and I can say that for a fact. And he's going to go down as a Hall of Famer in boxing as well. Obviously, he's fought so many great fighters. Obviously, he's fighting. He's a world champion after knocking out Lucas Matisse. If I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with Pacquiao on points, and I think Pacquiao's going to box him. I personally think Broner's not. I think Broner is not right in there. Like his desire doesn't. It's like he doesn't have that desire to box anymore, and it's like he doesn't have the desire and the heart to box. A person like Adrian Broner should be winning these fights. It's like he doesn't care about the sport anymore. He thinks I think he's coming towards the end of his career as well. So I think if I'm going to go with a win, I'm going to go with Pacquiao on points.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with you there, Ayaz. I think Pacquiao on points. I think that things could get interesting. I see it as a little bit of a 50-50 fight. I think Pacquiao's past it, like I said, and I think we can't get too excited on that win over Matisse, because it was clear that Matisse didn't have anything left, and that's why he retired straight after the fight. Pacquiao, he needs to take this really, really seriously. He needs to stay fit for all of those rounds, even late on. Broner does look in real good shape. I mean, that doesn't really mean everything, but he does look in good shape. And he, of course, needs to take it serious, because for me, it's a bit of a last chance saloon with him. The listeners have gone with a Pacquiao knockout. I mean, I just can't see that happening. The only time that Broner's ever looked really in trouble was against Maidana, and of course, he managed to not get knocked out. And he actually came back himself late on, and had some great success late on in that fight. So, I don't see Pacquiao knocking him out. I don't think Pacquiao's got that snap in his shots that he used to have, and I don't really think Broner's shot. I think Broner, even if he does get hit, will show toughness, and we've seen that before. Like I say, I think he's got a real good chin. But yeah, brilliant fight. I'd love Pacquiao to win, but like I say, it is for me a bit of a 50-50. I know people get a bit carried away with their hate for Broner, and for that reason, they just completely count Broner out and say, nah, it's an easy win for Pacquiao. That's wishful thinking, and believe me, I want Pacquiao to win. I love Pacquiao, but I think it's a closer fight than a lot of people give it credit for being. But like I say, I do go with Pacquiao on points. I'll be stunned if Pacquiao knocks him out. I'll be absolutely stunned. And if he did knock him out, by the way, we need to start considering Pacquiao as one of the best fighters at 147, because everyone's talking about Crawford and talking about Spence, and you got to really... If he was able to knock out Broner, then you've got to really start mentioning Manny Pacquiao's name in that sentence also. I believe Pacquiao probably wins on points should he not run out of steam, which we haven't really seen him do. But yeah, it will be interesting. I think it even will be quite cagey for the first few rounds. But yeah, great fight, and it's fantastic that it's on free-to-air TV over here, so I'd like to thank Al Heyman for doing that. But that's really it for the preview part of the show. We brought you the news, we brought you part one. Just before we wrap up part two, the last thing to do is to welcome our second and final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the WBO Middleweight World Champion, the tall, black and handsome Mr. Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius, welcome back on the show again.
Yo. Glad to be back.
Hey, it's brilliant to have you back.
Thanks for having me again.
Hey, it's always my pleasure, Demetrius. So we last spoke back in September. Now, at that time, of course, you were getting ready to fight Billy Joe Saunders. Now, that was the fight that didn't end up happening. And there was one thing that you said towards the end of that interview, which has kind of stuck with me. You were kind of going in a little bit on Canelo, saying it was unfair that he got so much attention and publicity when clean fighters like yourself and Billy Joe didn't get the credit. And that kind of stuck with me. It was so bizarre that a few weeks later, we obviously found out that Billy Joe, under a certain organisation, had failed a test. Yeah, interesting. I thought I'd bring that one up. But you did end up still fighting, thankfully. You took on Walter Kaltendokwa, an undefeated fighter going into the fight, and you basically played with him in there. You spent your whole camp preparing for a 5'11 southpaw and ended up fighting a 6'2" unbeaten, unknown quantity, orthodox South African. You made light work of him, Demetrius, dropping him multiple times along the way to a very wide, unanimous decision victory. Please talk us through it.
I mean, it pretty much sounds like you know it all, man. I mean, you pretty much said everything I could say. But, yeah, I mean, Billy Joe did what he did and it was wrong, and it's not the proper way to do anything in life is cheat. I put my best foot forward all the time, and, I get in the ring and give my best chance the clean way. And so after that, Walter was the next guy in line. He was willing and able to get in the ring and fight me for the vacant WBO championship title of the world. I mean, the show must go on. So I did what I had to do and came out victorious.
And here we are at your first defense. It's going to be this Friday. You take on Artur Akavov at the Madison Square Garden Arena. What do you know about Artur, Demetrius?
We know he's a real guy. He fought Billy Joe Saunders and gave him a hard time.
Very hard time, yeah.
And a lot of people thought he won the fight, actually, Arthur. So, we're not looking to, fight tomato cans or people that's just going to come in and lay down, because that's not what I want to get ready for. I want to make sure that, whoever's in the top 10, 15, is people that I'm fighting. So no other top guy or other elite fighters can say there's nobody else out there to fight. Yeah, there isn't anybody else out there to fight, because Demetrius is beating them all, and so now it's time for Demetrius to get in the ring with the likes of Canelo, Triple G, and even maybe Danny Jacobs, just boils down to it.
And like you mentioned there, Artur Akavov took on Billy Joe, and you're right, a lot of people, including Brits over here, thought that Akavov perhaps did enough to win that night. So obviously, it goes without saying that you can't really afford to overlook this guy. Have you brought back any of the sparring partners that you had in camp for the Saunders camp for this fight? Because obviously Akavov's also a southpaw.
Nah, I didn't. I used totally different guys.
Okay. Is the Saunders fight still a fight that interests you down the line, Demetrius?
I mean, anybody at the 160-pound division can get it. Saunders is unprofessional. He's cheating. He's not coming in at the weight class he's supposed to be fighting at. He's just doing things that, is unprofessional, and I can't rely on him to show up or not. I mean, maybe if he gets his stuff on track and he shows that he's worthy enough to, fight for another title, sure, no problem. But, there's definitely bigger fish out there.
And since we last spoke, Jamal Charlo has fought, and in many people's eyes, he was pretty lucky to walk out the ring with his title still around his waist. Did you happen to see that fight at all?
Yeah, I ended up watching it at the next day or so. I think when you sit there and you fight tomato cans and you fight guys that, are just going to lay down, when you get in there with a real guy or a live guy, you're going to get those type of results that we've seen I mean, these guys are not fighting anybody, and when they get in there with somebody that's willing to throw back and take shots and go in there, going into the fight to win, I mean, they might not end up with the W, just like one of them didn't versus Tony Harrison, and and another brother for Korbov, who's I don't know how long he's been out the ring, and he is a little older than everybody, and he gave him a hard time as well. So that just goes to show the talent and skills that they have. It don't seem like much.
I want to ask your prediction for this fight on Friday, Demetrius. Obviously, Akavov has just been dropped just the once in his career, I believe. It was early on in his career. He was a solid amateur, like yourself, very good amateur background. How do you win? Is it points, or do you become the first man to stop this guy?
I'm going in there to do what I want to do. I can only give you what you're asking for the night of the fight. And, I'm going to go in there looking to win, beat him down, and either the ref's going to stop it, I'm going to stop it, or his mom's going to stop it. So, somebody might throw in the towel on Friday night.
We shall have to wait and see. And finally, Demetrius, I don't want to take up too much of your time, like I say. Do you have any closing messages for your listeners out here, your fans out here that like to get behind you? What's your message to those guys before we let you go?
I just want to, thank everybody that support boxing, everybody that supports me, and the people that, finally getting to see what they've been missing on. Demetrius Andrade, stay tuned. There's a lot of skill and talent that comes with me, character, and my motto. It's me again.
Just before you was going to go, I was actually going to say, please just say it's me again. You're the best at saying those.
It's me again.
Demetrius, I'd like to wish you the absolute best of luck for Friday, my friend. God bless you. Happy New Year also. We'll catch up sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Okay, and this concludes episode 170 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's show, the former Featherweight World Champion Lee Selby, who we caught up with from Los Angeles, and the reigning WBO Middleweight World Champion Demetrius Andrade, who we caught up with from New York. We had two back-to-back shows last week and the week before, in which we only had one guest on each show, but we're back to two, and we're back to two with a bang. Two current or former world champions for your ears this week. Lots and lots of news, by the way, has broken since we started recording the podcast. Matchroom have announced a show in Liverpool on March the 30th. The bill will be topped by the new signing Liam Smith. He takes on Sam Eggington. The undercard will also see Robbie Davies Jr. take on Joe Hughes, Anthony Fowler take on Scott Fitzgerald, and David Price will also be involved. Frank Warren has announced a card to take place at the Royal Albert Hall. Boxing will return to the classic venue after a 7-year hiatus. The first ever event that took place in that venue was 1918. It was back in 1918, and 101 years later, boxing is back. Daniel Dubois tops the bill against Razvan Kajanu. Liam Williams takes on Joe Mullender, and Nicola Adams fights Areli Mucino for Mucino's WBO World Flyweight title. Anthony Yard's next opponent has been confirmed. He will take on Mehdi Amar. That one is happening on February the 23rd in Leicester. Now, Mehdi Amar actually went the distance with Gvozdyk, the man that obviously beat and dethroned Adonis Stevenson. So Amar went the distance with him back in March 2018. So that is a real step up for Anthony Yard. It's the fight that we've all, well, not necessarily the fight that we've all been waiting for, but it's the step up that we've all been waiting for. Dmitry Bivol has signed a promotional contract with Matchroom. He will be defending his world title against Joe Smith Jr. in March, but the venue and exact date will be announced tomorrow, and that's about all of the news that I've got for you. Thank you all for listening. The Prediction League is back, so I'm so excited about that. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.